Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your weekly Board of Selectmen's meeting. The date is Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018. This meeting is being recorded, both audio and video. It will be broadcast on Channel 9, both live and replays, and it will also be posted on YouTube for your viewing pleasure. At this time, I'm going to ask that everyone present stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, while we're standing, I have the unfortunate task of reading a number of names that I will ask for a moment of silence for town residents. They are Betty McKenna, John Tarvis, Michael Mondor, who is not a resident but who has family connections here. His wife's family is from Dayton. Michael Tavares, Mark Magnuson, Barbara Hines, and Jonathan Parker. Betty McKenna was the wife of Chuck McKenna, who served over 20 years on the Dayton School Committee, and I think he was chairman almost 20 years. Betty was very active and was a founding member of the Dayton Historical Society. She was active in the Dayton Lions. She was one of the ladies who used to come to Lincoln Village and help make bears, sojourn bears. And her funeral was yesterday. She's the mother of 6 children, some of them who still live in the town of Dayton. John Tarvis was 2 years ahead of me at Old Dayton High School. John, when he was at high school, used to live right up the road in the red house where the Watsons used to live. He was an athlete. He played football, basketball, baseball, and as I said, he was only 2 years ahead of me, so I remember him well. And in their memory, I ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Condolences to all the families. And as is customary, we're going to start this meeting with public input. Mr. Higgins, Mr. Pacheco. All right, we'll have a chance again at the end of the meeting if you hear anything interesting. We'll move on, if it's okay with the public, to Town Administrator's report. Madam Administrator, you have the floor.
Good evening. Nobody will move these, but hopefully everyone can hear me. So I am very pleased to report that the town received a $19,000 grant. I was here before you a handful of months ago with about 4 different very worthy projects, all relative to information technology. The town had the opportunity to apply for this grant because of its participation in the Community Compact Agreement with the state. So well done to all of you who did all that work before that led up to all these opportunities. We put in a project that is accounting software. It joins the Sewer Commission to accounting software and is also a data migration of about 5 years of data so that we can more easily work, the treasurer collector can more easily place liens if she needs to, process bills, process payments. They can be added, I believe they'll be added to online payment systems. So it's all good things, and I'm just very happy to report that. That's pretty fun. And I know that the treasure collector is thrilled, so congratulations, Mary.
I just wanted to congratulate our Town Administrator, Mallory Aronstein, our Treasurer, Mary Hathaway, and Diane Curtis,
Yes.
Administrative Assistant to the Sewer Commission. You all worked well together on this, and congrats.
So will Sewer be doing something with their billing system?
Yes, their billing will change. Right now, a lot of it is manual on both ends, sending it out and recouping it in the end, and that will stop, and it will go just like every other bill that we have. So it's a little bit of efficiencies inside. The public doesn't see too much changes, but the ability to pay online, which I think everybody appreciates these days. So that's exciting. We're happy. And thank you to them.
And we just signed this in October, beginning of October, and already
It's paying off.
we have money
I'm
rolling
thinking,
in.
is it 3 grants that we've already received since we got certified as a
Yes.
community
You've got a
cabinet?
you received $10,000 for your open space plan. This one, and I'm blanking on the third one.
Oh, we got 10,000 from Serped. that
Right.
was helping us with our best practices, which was
Oh,
to
okay,
get the
so the-
certification.
It's like a general.
So it was
Oh,
like
I'm sorry.
an incentive.
Like a
to help
springboard.
us- Exactly, to finish it, so.
So yes, this is number 3.
Well, and we got that $7,500 grant to
That's
become a
right.
green community as well.
That's right.
At
Before.
right before
We
2018.
didn't even know about these things before. Now we're getting emails and,
We can't escape it.
Well, that's what's helpful too, because you're on a list. You're literally on a list. And that's how this came across. And we put it out to department heads and they submitted, which was great. We had a worthy project, so I'm happy that everyone did participate. But this one was voted on by you and we got it, so.
Good work.
I was screaming through the hallways. I was very excited. It was a very, very good day. The other item here on my report is relative to the Taunton Police Department. They are requesting to train on our range. You have a draft letter there, if you agree to it. Basically, what this agreement says that, and the police department's okay with it. They are actually who, the Dayton Police Department, they're who brought it to my attention. They put together this agreement that holds the town of Dayton harmless for any injury that may occur. They're just using our facility and still would be covered by their own insurance.
I have no issue with it. I just am curious, who drafted this?
I did.
Okay. I trust you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we vote to approve the agreement by and between the town of Dayton and the city of Taunton relative to allowing members of the Taunton Police Department to have access to the shooting range on Tremont Street in Dayton, and that we sign the agreement.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it and the motion passes. Do we have a copy or we'll just sign one later?
You can sign that one if you
Okay,
want,
good. I
and we'll
stapled
send it
mine.
over. That's okay, no problem.
Only one copy?
Everything can be recreated. It's public government.
Thank you.
Oh, they've got, there should be 2 copies because they've got to
They
sign
should sign
one.
one.
We'll each have originals. Do you have one over there, Karen?
I have one too. I have one too.
Always prepared, Madam Administrator.
Thank you.
Oh, and is there a date line that you can fill in there?
No, but we probably should do that. Do you want to just add one?
Just put in the date line and we'll, that way we're...
It's nice to see the collaboration between our
Absolutely.
police department and local nearby police departments as well, so kudos.
Well, I didn't know there was a range off at Tremont Street until one day I heard all this shooting, and I'm thinking, if somebody's hunting, and they gotta use
off
that number of
season.
shots, they missed it. So I asked about it, and they told me there's a shooting range up near I think the landfill area behind there or something.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The third item under my report is relative to Strawberry Fields. I'm sure you've heard of this development. It started out as a conservation proposal. It didn't go in the developer's favor so much, so they did withdraw without prejudice. And the planning board did, you have those updated documents in your
Yep.
packet, and the planning board did vote to accept that withdrawal. And now they're going forward with a 40B proposal. This is 92 units. I'm here requesting that you authorize me to write to Mass Housing, requesting a 90-day extension. This is actually at the urging of Mr. Ken Pacheco, the ZBA chairman, and I do appreciate that. But this way we can solicit department input and adequately prepare a response.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco, very much for being on top of
Is
this.
there anything you want to add about
I
it?
just want to mention that we haven't received the application yet for this 40B, but once we get it, we'll have a hearing, and we can delay this for 1 year. This, whenever a developer goes before a board, planning board, or whatever, and is either denied or withdraws it without prejudice, on the same property, we, the zoning board, can reject that, whatever the new plan is. In this case, it's a 40B, and we can delay it for a year. I'm not saying the board will do that, but we can.
It's an option.
It's an option that we have, and we'll take a good look at it seriously, and we'll make a decision whether or not that's appropriate for this particular case. But we got from 43 units, houses, down to 92, which
Went from bad to worse, Mr.
from bad
Pacheco.
to worse. So when you notify the other boards, school and whatever, they have an input on this. When it comes to the ZBA, we can't take into consideration schools or ambulances and police, but right now you have an opportunity to have an input, so hopefully you get the 90-day delay on this, and you'll be able to notify the boards, and they respond, and you can send something to mass housing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the request of Mrs. Aaronstein that she contact Mass Housing and ask for a 90-day extension so the town will have time to further review the proposal.
I'm going to absolutely step down and second that motion. Further discussion?
When the original proposal came, not this gentleman, but that piece of property, the one that ended up,
Sunset Woods.
that the town appealed the DEP ruling, how many homes were proposed for Somerset Woods?
They asked for 200 apartments, they got 180, but the ZBA approved, I wasn't part of that decision, but the ZBA approved 180 units.
Okay, now, the next proposal, Strawberry Fields. So the original was how many?
180 was approved.
We got it down to half.
The Strawberry Fields?
No.
No.
Strawberry Fields, the conservation was 43 houses.
Now it's 92, but
Now
the
it's
original Somerset Woods, you said, was 180 units?
80 apartments, yes.
Yep.
And the town challenged and won that case.
And this is for Strawberry Fields, 92 houses?
Yes.
Not apartments?
Not apartments, houses.
So because of the Conservation Commission's action on the 43, which limits what you can build and wetlands and all of that, by going to a 40B, they can get more homes when there's a conservation issue involved?
Yes, yes they can, because it's developed differently. I'm not sure if anybody's seen the plans, but it's developed differently. You've taken into consideration the wetlands and everything else. Don't forget, when they come in with a 40B, they're asking for waivers, so it's not going to be 175 feet frontage, it's going to be 75 feet frontage, but they're able to get 92 units, and we've been successful in all of our 40Bs to get the numbers down a little bit, but we're not going to get it down to 43.
Yeah.
I assume this will have town sewage.
I assume, yes.
So that's another reason why they can...
That's why they don't have to worry about septic systems and stuff like that.
Okay, all right.
Whether they have to put a pump station in, I'm not sure, but...
Okay.
I had one question about the 1-year delay. After the year is up, if that is the way the zoning board would want to go, is the zoning board, after that year is up, then obliged to approve it, maybe with some conditions or something? How does that work?
Not obliged to approve it, but most 40Bs that come in, they ask for waivers, and if we start denying waivers, they can challenge us in court, and most of the time they've been successful. And they get what they originally planned on, so we may negotiate, say they want 75 feet frontage, we get 100, but then they challenge us on something, we say, no, we're not going to give you that, and they take it to the housing court. They'll get everything again, they'll go back to that 70 feet frontage or whatever, so it's important. And we've been successful with our 40Bs. We've had 7 40Bs that come to town. 4 of them are active right now, one's in litigation, one never happened, and Somerset Woods fell apart. So we've had 7. But we've been able to get the numbers down, so we do the best, the ZBA does the best we can for this. Unfortunately, now we're going from 43 houses to 92, which is never a good situation. And we may be able to get some numbers down. We try to increase the affordable units more than 25%, but we're going to get a lot of new houses here, unfortunately. We can delay it for a year, but we have to hear it for a year. Now, we can decide, the ZBA can decide if this is a friendly 40B, and we can say, we're not going to wait a year, we like what you're presenting here, we can go forward within that year, but we're going to leave it up to the board.
And my hope would be, Madam Administrator and Selectman Goulart, that kind of knowing that something will be coming, perhaps we could have discussions with the schools and, with the other public service departments, public work departments, to see if there's anything we can do, knowing that it's going to come, so we can kind of be proactive with that expectation that this is coming down the pipeline.
But on a 40B, they don't care about schools.
Oh, no, I know. They're not asking.
No.
Which is kind of why it's our responsibility.
You have an opportunity now to talk about the schools and how it's going to impact the police and everything else, and hopefully the Mass Housing will listen. They may not listen, then it comes to the ZBA.
Hope for the best, expect the worst. Absolutely, absolutely. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Mallory, good luck working with the Housing Choice Program. And thank you very much, Mr. Pacheco. And now we're on to old business. And the first order of old business this evening is to appoint members to the TIF Review Board. And I know, Madam Administrator, this was your baby, this was your idea, so I'd like you to have the floor on this.
Thank you. So for those of you who don't know, we're establishing a TIF Review Board, tax increment financing. It is a way to spur development. We do have currently a couple of businesses looking at this avenue, and I thought that the best way to go forward was to have a review board to make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen with input. Their job is to coordinate and get input from the assessors and determine what's the best case for Dayton. So the Development and Economic Commission did meet on Monday, and they have nominated Mr. Cahal O'Brien, who's agreed to serve. So I'm just asking that you appoint him this evening, and then we will get started, this group.
And just to clarify, we had already appointed Finance Committee's Mr. Peter Roach.
Yes, and myself and Mr. DeRosa as the business community representative.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Cahal O'Brien to the TIF Review Board.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Before we move on, if there's any way, and I can do this as well, but we could reach out to those businesses who are curious about what the status is and just let them know.
Absolutely.
The TIF Review Board has been formed. Give us some time to get our sea legs under us, but we will be working on their proposals. Perfect. Thank you, Madam Administrator. B, I believe we are waiting for some additional information on agenda item 6B, old business, the writing off of old transfer station invoices. I don't recall getting a formal request from the Board of Health for this, and as I understand, the Treasurer's Office is still working on this as well, finalizing the list.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to table this to a future meeting.
And I'm going to step down and second that motion. No discussion. Let's take it to a vote. All those.
I do have,
sure.
just some information. The tax collector actually got a copy of that today, and she is going to see if she has information on the people on the list, and then she will let us know how she's going to proceed.
Sure.
So
see if they can collect.
After we see if she can collect, she'll let us know which one she feels are too old, or there's no way of contacting the person, so.
And we know she's tenacious, so.
Yes, I think we'll get a revised list, so.
Sure, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Good work if you're watching, Mary Hathaway. Let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, the ayes have it, the motion passes, and that has been tabled. C, old business, bids for the AC unit for Old Town Hall.
This is my fault, I put this on here, but I was on vacation yesterday and the day before, and I actually don't have the information for you. I know that this is all set and ready to go, we're just waiting on the vendor to give us some documentation that we need.
Okay.
Do you think next week we might have it?
I'm really, we need to, because we need to
It's
get
getting
going
hot.
on this. It's getting hot, number one, but we need to spend this money by June 30th. And we can't pay him until the work is completed. So, this was just me being optimistic, I guess, but I was not able to follow up
No
today.
problem, Madam
Mr. Chairman, I
Administrator.
move that we table action on the bids for the air conditioning unit at the Old Town Hall until next week.
And I'm going to step down and second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, the ayes have it, and the motion passes. New business, and our first order of new business this evening is to appoint Mr. Dennis Hazel of the Highway Department to the Policy Review Board as the Highway Union representative.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Dennis Hazel to the Policy Review Board as the Highway Union representative.
And I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? I actually have one question. So as I understand now that we have, or are going to have rather, a representative from the Highway Union, what is the one union outstanding?
Dispatch.
Okay. I would advise, if I may, Madam Administrator, that we reach out to, and again, I'm happy to do so as well, reach out to Teresa Costa, Paul Reed, and just kind of gauge their level of interest, or maybe they'll have someone who might want to do it. They might make a recommendation. Anything else, Selectman Goulart?
Well, I hope if no one wants to volunteer for this, when everyone else approves the policy, we aren't going to hear from them saying, we don't like it.
And
I mean, they have an opportunity now.
And I think that's part of the reason it's a good idea to do this.
Yeah,
is
one
to
more
say-
time.
Exactly, absolutely. And to be able to say, we had a seat at the table and you kind of gave up that seat. So give him a seat. Any further discussion? Okay, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes. And we'll work on the dispatch union. And next is a request by the highway superintendent for a new stop sign at Summer and Prospect Street intersection.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
Mr. Ferry is due to return to discuss this item. I just
Okay.
request that you hold off.
Do we need to discuss this, or?
If he wants to come in, I think we should let him.
That's fine.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we table action on item 7B until the highway superintendent is present tonight.
And I'm gonna second that motion. I know there's normally no discussion. Did you mean this evening he's coming in? Okay.
Supposed to come back. I was
Okay.
going to check on something from a previous meeting.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the motion passes.
We need to clone Mr. Ferry.
I know.
He has to be in too many
He's gotta have a
places,
brother.
too many times.
And next on the agenda this evening under new business is a vote to award the Sursage DPW supplies contract. And again, our fantastic town administrator, Ms. Aaronstein, has been instrumental, so I'm going to let you have the floor on this, Madam Administrator.
Thank you. Thanks for your kind words. Sursage is our public purchasing group that we've joined with some other contiguous communities, and we go out to bid with them on a variety of items. If the public remembers, we did this with paper. The idea is that bulk purchasing gives us a better price, and usually that is the case. So it also saves on paperwork for individual towns to have to go out and procure everything themselves. So it helps, this actually helps, exactly, and it helps Tom Ferry a little bit with some paperwork.
We want to help, Ms.
That's right. So this one is DPW supplies. This is like your loam, your concrete, catch basins, which if you'll remember, we did take advantage of pricing. They did extend their pricing to us, so we had some savings already. And then some other, rock salts, well, the salt is actually, they're throwing out the bid, so forget I said that. But this is our version because we are in a certain zone, and I'm just here asking that you approve and award the bid as presented on this piece of paper here. We'll get.
And I just wanted to be clear, because I had this written down. I know we did vote to award a contract to Sursage on April 12th, 2018, so this is for specific items, correct?
Right, so we go out to bid in groups, so what you awarded was paper
Yep.
on that night.
Gotcha.
And this is DPW supplies, and I'll be back for DPW services in the future, in the fall.
Okay, what we've done in the past is we just announce who is the successful bidder so that public interest. So if you don't mind reading.
I don't mind at all, thank you. So again, this is DPW supplies, so 3/8" stone went to G Lopes out of Taunton at $16.44 per ton, $16.44 per ton. 3/4" stone went to LaRusso Corp. out of Plainville at $16.20 per ton. 1.5" stone went to G Lopes of Taunton, Massachusetts, $16.44 per ton. Stone dust, again, G Lopes out of Taunton, $15.98 per ton. Processed gravel went to LaRusso Corp. out of Plainville, Massachusetts, $12.20 per ton. Washed sand for snow and ice removal, we are in Zone C, which is just lumped with communities that are close by to us. This also went to G Lopes out of Taunton, Mass, $15.38 per ton. Loam, G Lope was, the low bidder was G Lopes for Taunton, Mass, $13.84 per ton. Concrete block catch basin structures, no bids were received. Drain manhole frames and covers went to EJ USA Inc. out of Brockton, Mass. at $289 each. Manhole extension rings, for 3 different categories, 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and 2 inches. And it was $92, $95, and $105 respectively. The low bidder there was EJ USA Inc. out of Brockton, Massachusetts. Catch basin frames, including grates, $299 per each. And that went to EJ USA Inc. out of Brockton, Massachusetts. Catch basin square grates, EJ USA Inc. out of Brockton, Massachusetts. They were last year's low bidder as well. This is what we took advantage of earlier this year. It's $120 each. Catch basin extension rings, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2 inches. These all went to EJ USA. The prices were $92, $101, and $112 each respectively in those categories. For concrete patching mix, and this is to pick up, I believe. We are in Zone A for this item, and it went to LaRusso Corp. out of Plainville, Mass., $114 per ton. Calcium chloride and agriculturally based de-icer went to Safe Road Services, Franklin, Mass. at $1.20 per gallon. I will just say, Dayton, we use our molasses, so we are going out to bid. Superintendent Ferry and I have had multiple conversations about this, and we're gonna still go out to bid on our own for that. And then do something else with salt, since Sursage voted to reject all of the salt bids. They thought that they could get a better deal. And I will just mention that these supplies, the winners are all commented on by the group's highway superintendents and DPW directors, so they do give feedback as to whether or not we've had a bad or a company that didn't really deliver how they should have. And I thank Mr. Ferry because he does attend those meetings, so thank you for representing Dayton in that capacity.
Thank you, Mr. Ferry.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we vote to ratify the bids as submitted from Sursage for DPW supplies, and that we authorize the board to sign the contract.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion?
They actually
Sure.
have something, so we will end up getting contracts for each of these different companies, and they'll be before you to sign. You can either have me place them before you on an agenda, or if you vote to authorize signatories, we can put it on your desk, so that would be up to you.
We do have a blanket.
Right.
Is that okay?
This is for awarding the bid, and then each
Okay.
company we do,
Oh, okay.
right, we have a vendor contract with each
I
one.
actually have another question, either for Administrator Aaronstein or Highway Superintendent Ferry. For the, and I may have missed this, I apologize, but for the rock salt where the bids were rejected, and then for the concrete block catch basin structures where there were no bids received, for example, if Mr. Ferry needed a concrete block catch basin structure and they can't get it through Sursage, how does that work?
He would just do his normal procurement
Okay.
process.
So he's not gonna wait until
Correct.
we go back out?
No, we're just on our own on those. And as far as salt goes, because it was all thrown out, per the advice of that group, we are on our own for salt, or we can join another consortium, which we've looked into, and we're leaning towards one, but Tom and I haven't settled that, so I'm not gonna speak for him, but we'll work on that.
Oh, he goes out late at night
Yeah.
to another year.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Thank you, Superintendent Ferry. Thank you very much, Madam Administrator. Do we have a copy? Clean
There
copy?
should be 2 copies of those, and I saw Selectmen.
Too quick.
She's
Mrs.
so
Ferry.
efficient, that's right.
Hyper efficient.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we return to agenda item 7B that was tabled earlier, because now Mr. Ferry is here.
Absolutely. I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Mr. Ferry, we're here to discuss your request for a new stop sign at Summer and Prospect Street intersection. Do you have anything in particular you'd like to say that was not in the email? No?
Probably start with if you have any questions, it's probably easier.
I have a question. If I'm on Summer Street and I'm heading south, and I come to Prospect Street, is the stop sign going to be there on my right? Because there's no sign there now,
When
is
you're
there?
traveling south on Summer Street,
Yes,
that's the stop sign I'd like to install, yes.
all right, okay.
That's actually a 5-point intersection.
It is, that's a tough intersection.
So that's still, one is a one-way, going out of the intersection, and the other one is a very short street going in between the islands that doesn't really collect traffic. I do not anticipate a problem with that, but we can entertain whatever you guys want.
So the throughway, so to speak, is Prospect Street,
Yes,
west to east, east to west?
correct.
Because,
No, just west and east at that point, and going west from the intersection.
oh, that's right, that's because of the one-way.
Correct.
Okay, all right. People that are going east on that road, quite frankly, fly, and that is a tough intersection.
Right. I don't know why all of a sudden, it's actually, people are challenging each other going through the intersection, but that's what's going on. What I handed out was an excerpt of the Chapter 89, Section 9, where it gives you guys the local authority for stop signs. We don't do this, and we don't take this lightly. The biggest thing communicating with Mass DOT in the past is you should not consider using a stop sign for speed control. And that's not this case. This is more of right-of-way and right-of-entry of the intersection.
And it's the design of that intersection that is tough.
Correct.
So this is in the interest of public safety, correct? Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I move that we approve the request of the highway superintendent to install a new stop sign at the intersection of Summer Street and Prospect Street as recommended.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and the motion passes. And I did just want to add, thank you for speaking to Police Chief McDonald before, and he was on board as well, just so the public knows. Thank you very much, Mr. Ferry. Good work. All right, next on our agenda this evening, we have some vacation rollover requests. And let's start, if nobody minds, with the administrative assistant to the town clerk treasurer. I did just want to add, I believe she's just, the title is clerk. Not that it matters, but, okay. So we have a request from, well, it's to us, and it's from Christina Franca. She's asking, they're requesting to carry over 35 hours of vacation time to the next fiscal year 2019.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request to carry over 35 hours of vacation time into FY19 submitted by Christina Franca.
And I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. Next is the assistant assessor. And this request, bear with me just a moment, is to roll over up to 24.5 hours of vacation time into fiscal year 2019.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the request to allow Valerie Wilson to roll over, or to carry forward 24 and a half hours of vacation time into fiscal 19.
And I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes. And before we move on to the office manager request for the planning board, I just wanted to mention these requests have already been approved by the respective department head as well, just in case anyone's wondering. Next, office manager for the planning board. We've received a request from the office manager for the planning board to carry over 2 weeks vacation into fiscal year 2019.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request of Mrs. Easterday to carry over 2 weeks vacation. I would assume that's 70 hours.
70 or 80?
It would be, no,
70,
it
you're
won't be
correct.
80, because she's
70.
part-time, 70. Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
70 hours vacation time into fiscal 19.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the motion passes. Next, Assistant Town Accountant. We've received a request from the Assistant Town Accountant to carry over 2 weeks vacation into fiscal year 2019.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request from Linda McCarron to carry over 2 weeks vacation. Now, hers is not 35 hours a week, it's less, is it?
It's less, it is,
I believe it's 25 right now.
right.
And then
Right,
with the
so
extra
she's
6
coming.
hours,
Okay.
31.
So it's 50 hours vacation time into FY '19.
Excuse me, I was writing that. I'm gonna step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the motion passes. And next, we have a request from the police chief to carry over 10 vacation days into the fiscal year 2019.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request of Robert McDonald to carry over 80 hours of vacation time into FY '19.
And I'm gonna step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, that motion passed. I hope someone's taking me on vacation. Library staff.
You don't have an
True. Hope the board approves it. Library staff, we should do these one by one. So for the Assistant Librarian Youth Services, the request is to carry over 51.63 hours into fiscal year 2019.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the request of Lori Van Hook to carry forward 51.63. She's not talking.
Mine's weird too. Mine is like .23. I don't know how.
But it's accurate,
It's
correct?
accurate.
Okay.
So, all right, excuse me, approved to carry over 51.63 hours of vacation time into FY '19.
And I'm gonna step down and second that motion. Discussion. Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, the motion passes. Next is the Assistant Librarian of Circulation. The request is to carry over 68.5 hours into fiscal year 2019.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request of Kimberly Graylis Rust to carry forward 68.5 hours of vacation time into FY '19.
And I'm gonna step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Next on the agenda is the Town Administrator Evaluation.
Mr. Chairman, I am sorry to tell you, I have not completed the evaluation, and I really took a look at this form, and I am not comfortable using it because I don't think it's a fair evaluation instrument for the town administrator. Then I thought about some of the conversations we've had. When the town administrator was hired, a contract was in place, but there was no job description. So the town administrator had to work on her own job description.
This is true.
There was no form in place for an evaluation. So she was able to get a couple of sample forms. We picked one from I'll say neighboring community, and maybe in that neighboring community it works, but in my personal opinion, it's not professional. I'm used to structured evaluations that, first of all, you just don't, once a year, boom, especially with new employees. And I look to see what is in place at the university because it's what I'm used to. And the process is, number one, professional employees, there are different evaluation forms depending upon what you do. And professional employees go through several meetings with their department head or boss or whoever they work for. The first one is roughly 3 months into the job where they sit down and talk about, this is the job, is the job description, have you been assigned duties that fit the job description? And if not, we need to talk about that and iron it out, because we can't evaluate you on a job description that may not be working. So that's one thing. And you do this several times so that when the final evaluation is prepared, it's a culmination of the other meetings. The other thing is that, quite frankly, it is the department head or the boss or the supervisor, whatever you want to call them, who is responsible for bringing along a new employee. If an employee has problems with a job description or anything else that would affect their performance, or let's say they're not provided the proper tools or the kind of accommodations they need to do the job, it's up to the supervisor to work with that person to bring them along. If they're having difficulty understanding a task or saying, this really doesn't make sense for the job that I've got or I've been assigned or something, all of this should help. The supervisors, in our case, should work with the employee to bring them along, so that at various steps, the supervisors and the employee is comfortable with what's moving, and they're not all of a sudden, once a year, boom, this is it. They have an opportunity to do a self-evaluation. They have an opportunity to state goals that they would like to see. Now, Mrs. Aronstein was told to come up with goals, and we'll approve them. In the case of what I was used to, the goals, first of all, you would sit and talk with your supervisor, and they would see if they were appropriate. And then at each of those meetings, you would have an opportunity to say, well, when I met with you last, I was doing this. And this happened to us a number of times. When the Y2K event was coming, everyone in our department was pulled off what they were working on except financial audits, because we had outside auditors coming in. But our department was totally responsible for making sure that the entire university system was Y2K ready. We had over a year to get ready for that, and basically that's what I did for a year. So the fixed asset inventories funded by grants, I had to put on hold. So I transitioned from where I started out to saying, I now have to put all that aside, and I've got to work on Y2K, and these are the areas on whatever campus it was that I have to focus on. So what I felt was, in the end, as a new auditor, I knew well ahead of time what my assignments were. I had time to meet with my boss. I had time to say, I've got a problem with this one. And he would either help me or assign one of the auditors to help me. So that when it came time for the first full year professional evaluation, I had been included in the discussion, the loop, and everything else. And even when I was told to do a self-evaluation, I had an idea, a better idea, of where I was going, what kind of leadership I had, and any issues that came up were addressed or I was given help. In looking at the evaluation tool that we selected from the other community, I haven't worked closely with Mrs. Aronstein. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, I can't rate that. That's not fair. How do I rate that? I don't know. And what my feeling is, and I felt this from the beginning, she came in December and was told she was going to be evaluated by May the 23rd. I don't think there has been enough time, I know for me there hasn't been, to work with her and be able to do this fairly, to sit down and discuss with her her feelings, things that I would want to ask her about and everything else. And so what I did, and I'm not suggesting we do this, but what I would like to ask, if I can give this to Mrs. Aronstein only for review purposes, to see how she feels about what I consider to be an evaluation form for professional employees. This document is Performance Planning Worksheet. This is the initial thing you look at. This is the kind of thing that, whether you meet at quarterly, half-year, but this is what you put together before you get your official final evaluation for the entire time period. So, I got that document, and if it's in this bag, I've got the shell of what the final document looks like. I had trouble printing on the printer here, so some of this stuff I printed at home. So what this would be is the initial meeting, whether it's 6 months, whether it's 3 months, whatever is agreed to. This might serve as a good thing for other people that we've been told we've got to start doing evaluations on. This is Performance Management Program Professional Staff Performance Review. This is the final document, okay? And what I would like to do is to give this to her and have her review it so that she can say, well, that would work, that wouldn't work, and just mock it up. We don't have to use this one, but I just feel in order to do a professional review in a fair time period, we need something like this. So whether it's similar to this or we get one from someone else, I just think, again, if I were the person being evaluated, having come from a structured system, I realize that. Having come from a structured system, if I were being evaluated on the form that we selected, I'd be thinking, this isn't fair, how do you measure that? And there were things in the community evaluation, because I don't want to name the community, that I didn't personally feel related to professional employees. I think, as I said, the university has various forms depending upon the job you hold, the campus you're on, and each campus can fine-tune it because some have different research areas and maybe one campus couldn't possibly fairly evaluate somebody working at the CMAS Research Center in New Bedford. I don't know that. But all I'm saying is, I have not completed it because I'm not comfortable, and I don't think I could do a good job, and I don't think it would be helpful to her. So that's where I'm coming from.
Fair. What I would say to that is, I have no issue having Town Administrator Aaronstein review this document, but we're contractually obligated to have this done by the 30th. So I've already done mine. You've already read it, as I understand. So.
I'm ready to go. I appreciate the concern, I can understand
honestly,
it.
Selectman Goulart, I don't want to like do another evaluation. It took me like 3 hours.
I'm willing to finish it. I'm not comfortable with it, and I will put notations on it in the areas that I feel I'm not qualified to rate.
And that's totally valid, and like I said,
going into the next year, I think we need to look at something that is more professional.
Sure. We'll have more time.
More tuned.
Correct.
Well, my other thought was, in that contract, we can waive anything we want, so we're not contractually obligated. And the reason that I held off bringing it in is because I don't feel bound by that term because I think it's unfair. When you start a job in December and you're going to have an annual evaluation, but you haven't even been here, and I'm not saying put it off until December. What I'm saying is, yeah, I can live with the May date if she's had really at least a year, you know? Mrs. Aaronstein and I are going to meet to go over a number of things, and maybe some stuff will come out of that. So that's my point. If you want me to finish it, there will be notes on it. These are going to be made public, so I just want people to know where I'm coming from. But certainly, yeah, we can look at a truly professional evaluation of somebody in a management position.
Mm-hmm. And the only other concern would be that there is a merit-based salary increase for fiscal year 2019 that is based on the performance evaluation.
Not for me. 2019 is not
No, her
merit
contract
based.
says July 1, she gets a $10,000 increase. There's no conditions on that.
Where I would see the merit base would come in 2020. FY 2020, so we do have, that's okay. And I share, when you selected that one, I was a little,
It wasn't
reading
my
through
first,
it.
that
No,
one
I,
wasn't
yeah.
my first.
So I can understand exactly where you're coming from, and it might give me time to look at other communities as well.
Right.
The biggest hiccup I had is that a lot of towns evaluate their administrators electronically. So there's nothing, it's like a program that they have.
It can be half the time. if I
So,
was-
yeah, so it will just give us some time.
It's also like surveys where they ask questions and everything's yes and no, and you can't make a comment, or you can't say to them, I don't understand the question, or please clarify that. And I realize they send these to, you know, some company out there somewhere that just does this all the time. They don't care about the contents, they don't care about the person, they just run it through the scanner, it scores everything, boom, 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 boom. You
And
know.
I also can appreciate this because we are leaning towards the role, we're gonna start evaluating our department heads, and I see it that you kind of want to model it, you know, so that it's similar. I did prepare a couple, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I appreciate the fact that if you come to something where you're like, nah, not really sure, don't, you know, just write that. I'm totally fine with that. That's
Well,
better
I
than
have
putting
written
in some
notes,
answer.
but I looked at it, and I've got a lot of spots where I wrote something like, I can't evaluate this, or I don't know, or, you know,
Totally
whatever.
fair. And Madam, that makes sense too.
It does make sense to me. I have a couple of, I just have a thing that I think
Yeah,
might help suck
absolutely,
it
and
up,
then
but-
if we have anything.
Well, go ahead, I'll be lengthy.
Sure.
Chief, I'm just curious, Mr. Chairman, why the board approved this evaluation tool, then now finds it not adequate.
Oh, it's not the board, it's me. I want to make that
Well, the
clear.
board, I said the board approved.
I don't have any
Yes.
issue.
So
It was-
you've completed what you are willing to do your evaluation. I'm just curious, did you not think it was?
We only had two to pick from, as I remember.
There were more, but it's fine, I mean, that's really kind of beside the point.
One of them, to me, was totally not in the running. The other one came from the community where she came from, okay? And we both agreed on the other community. Yeah, looked at it, okay, yeah, okay, this looks okay. It's multiple pages, I didn't read all the questions, I didn't read all the things. I'm looking at this strictly from fairness. I haven't spent a lot of time working with Mrs. Aaronstein. And so, I'm gonna do it. I just want the public to know, because it's gonna become public. And in all honesty, if I were the person holding the job, I would not be comfortable with it, all right? I will answer it to the best of my ability, and if I can't, I've already written some things, and I intend to write notes too, so that the person who reads it can read it, and the public will know where I'm coming from.
And I respect that. If it were you and you were the town administrator, Selectman Goulart, you wouldn't feel comfortable. But I did turn to you before we
Yep.
voted on that, and I did
Yep.
ask you if you,
Right.
and I would expect you would tell me the truth, so.
You know, and I
understand
think
your
going forward from a management perspective, because I've done these evaluations before, not only personally, but other people. As I said, I came from a very structured environment. I think what we really need to do is look at the way it was handled. She got a contract, it referenced a document that didn't exist. And she got the thing put together. This isn't how you hire and treat employees, professional employees that have so much, let me say, more paperwork than employees at will, or even union employees, okay? And I'm a little embarrassed that it wasn't handled better, quite frankly. I'll leave it at that.
What I just wanted to say to you, Selectman Goulart, is, I haven't looked at this. I'm totally on board, and I'll commit on public, on camera, that we can review this all together as a team, because when you reference future evaluations for like department heads, we do need to get the form right if we're going to be doing it for everybody, if we're going to establish that fair and equitable system that we've been speaking about with Finance Committee. So I'm totally committed to that, and I understand your concerns.
And I say, this doesn't have to be it, but it is a structured program, it's a structured process. And we may not want to be this structured, but I was also thinking down the road of what we discussed during finance committee meetings. We got to come up with something.
And we can always pull from everything.
Yeah?
Yes. And
Yeah.
just make a hybrid, absolutely. Mr. Rhines?
Would the combination of those two documents be able to be accomplished by the 30th, which would be next Wednesday night?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and make a vote?
But then I would have to spend another 3 hours, and I don't want to redo and she's already seen it
Census is
also.
typical, right?
I don't think it's appropriate that she be now evaluated on something that's just new. Maybe in the future, I agree with you, Nancy, this may be a better.
Oh, no,
This may be better, but
no.
I think what you guys, you people voted for is what you should be using right now. And I think if you didn't understand it, you should have maybe held off on the vote.
I understand it. It's not,
inadequate.
I feel I didn't read every question the night we looked at it, but I felt, having done evaluations, quite frankly, for years,
I'm not familiar with that
and
particular one right
I
now.
just felt that, in fairness to the person being evaluated, a better form. And no, I'm not saying drag this out tonight and let's start over. What I'm saying is, I'm going to complete it. I would have preferred to not meet the deadline because it has no financial impact on her. That's contractually, she's all set. But that in the meantime, getting ready for May of next year, we got time to work on something more appropriate, fairer as far as categories, whatever. That's all I'm saying. Oh, no, I would never say we got to start over tonight. Well,
No, in fairness to Mallory, she needs to know what the tool's going to be, that's going to do the evaluation, so.
Exactly.
Use the one that's been approved in the future, that might be very well, might be.
As she said, look at this, get others, and pick the best out of each one.
Yeah, and then make it into one
Have one
document.
document.
Yeah. Are you okay with that?
And
Evaluation.
I have never seen a professional evaluation that didn't start with a self-evaluation,
We can incorporate.
you know?
I'm sure
So,
you'd like to self-evaluate.
I mean, if you will, it's the starting point of the whole permanent process.
That is true.
Because, again, in the old days, in another life, the performance planning worksheet stayed with my supervisor, my boss. When the final document was done, which is the culmination of a year, and the feedback was put in, this is the document that went from my boss to the vice president for administration and finance, and went on to the president of the university, because he had the final say whether or not any increases were granted. We were not union, we were not guaranteed anything. So, again, as I said, it's very structured, and sometimes, some places are too structured, but it was what I was used to. It wasn't optional, you know.
The process that we had similar evaluations as you're discussing now.
Yeah, the state.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Superchief. Anything else? Anybody else?
So yes, I will have that ready, and I will get it to you.
And the other reason, again, for the public, the other reason why I don't personally want to change the form, not saying that's what you're saying, but simply because she's already read my answers. The cat is already out of the bag on that, so I can't really go back in time.
But, you know, an important distinction is that I don't believe Selectman Goulart has, and that's very important to know.
Absolutely.
Because you can't know yet. Once you do yours, we can.
Oh, no, we agreed they'd be separate. They'd be separate, and,
All those people.
so what I plan to do is finish it.
Yeah.
You want to look at it.
I can't.
You will submit it to
You
him.
already submitted it. You
Right,
already
he
did.
submitted his.
I can't look at yours, I
And you'll
mean.
have to submit yours to Karen, and then when you both see each other's, it will have to be at next
Yeah.
week's meeting. Because they've been ruled an opinion, and it's essentially sharing your opinion outside of a meeting. You can't do that. So Karen will have to physically hand them to you at the meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, yeah.
I think it was the town of Wayland or something came down on that. There's already a court case on it.
Everything.
Only about that.
I would be remiss before we moved on. I understand that the town administrator and Selectman Goulart will be having a meeting per the conversation that we had last week to iron some things out or to smooth some things out. So I'm really happy to hear you'll be doing that. And if there's anything that we need to redraft, revote, it'll come before the board for further discussion. But I'm okay with you two having a kumbaya moment, and then we'll reassess whenever the time is. We're very busy right now. Town meeting is coming up. Oh my God, my hair is awful. And I just noticed it. So I appreciate that, and thank you for being true to your word. All right.
Am I able to do this, or do you want to?
Yeah, absolutely, Madam Administrator. No?
So I think everyone's aware, but I had goals as part of my contract. Again, we all know that there's some things in my contract don't make any sense, and one of those things was that 2 goals would be decided on in February and then evaluated. I had until June 30th to do them, and then I'd be evaluated in May, so that doesn't make any sense. So I developed actually 4. They all sort of intertwined with each other. They were approved by this board on January 3rd, and then I completed them. So the first goal was updating the town of Dayton's harassment policy, which everybody knows about at this point. Attend 1 procurement class held by Inspector General's office. That's to start my MCPPO certification for procurement. That's been taken care of. Streamline process for board selectmen's meetings, including developing a procedure for managing the business to come before the board, posting agendas, and completing tasks delegated by the Board of Selectmen. We've instituted that policy, just to reiterate, that if you want it on the agenda, it's the Monday at 12:30. That's the deadline. Then Karen basically says, nope, you are moved to the, unless there's an emergency, you move to the next meeting.
Before you move on, I just wanted to say, to address your point from before, Mr. Pacheco, you know, I work a full-time job, I work 40 hours, I am not here micromanaging or managing, you know, overseeing people, looking over people's shoulders during the day. It has been invaluable for me personally to have that policy that she worked on, that we worked on together, be implemented so that I'm getting the agenda materials that will be discussed, you know, 1 day, 2 days before, because that's the only time I have is in the evening to go over everything. So it's been invaluable for me. I know people appreciate having those agendas 2 days before the meeting so they know if they need to show up or not.
And those go out, and Karen is amazing, and she puts together the packets for you. We just work it on Tuesday nights and make sure that the selectmen do have that. And then we also work together. Karen compiles a to-do list from the meeting. We divvy up tasks and we get them done. So that's how we manage that. And then I reviewed the policies and procedures manual, which I submitted my recommendations. We've come to a little bit of an obstacle, but we're working through that, and that will continue. So those are my 4 goals approved by the board that we took care of. I put together a little list. I'm a little proud of this because time moves very quickly here, and I never really understood everything that I did, but I feel like I'm representing the people well, and I'm helping the town move along. So when I first got here, I met with every department to familiarize myself with the town. I wanted to meet people, know what they did, know what they needed, and a handful of residents also took advantage of that open door policy. It's still in existence, so come on by, and it really helps me be a better town administrator and cued into what is going on in Dayton. As far as policy, one of the early things we did was we drafted a financial statement to help with our bond rating. That was right out of the gate in December, and we worked with the finance committee to process that and get them to be on board with that as well. As I mentioned, we also did the meeting agenda policy, the anti-harassment policy, and the review of the policy manual, which ultimately established the policy review board. As Selectman Goulart alluded to, I developed a job description for the town administrator position, which we're still, I guess, tweaking, but that's for Selectman Goulart and I really focused on morale and team building. I know that it's very strange to have a new town administrator and a new person in the role when everyone's been here for a very long time. So I personally purchase, and the town clerk and the treasurer collector have also chipped in too, but we do cake once a month for whoever's birthday it is that month. And that is not just so that we can sit around and eat cake, but that people who might not, even though that's fun and that's great, but that is for people to get out of their office and mingle and make some connections with departments that they might not normally connect with, and then share some ideas just by osmosis. I also have my Big Cheese trophy, which is very corny, but I love it, and I think it sits really well with the department
It
heads.
means a lot.
It does.
I know to the people, to the employees who have been awarded it. It means a lot. So.
Right. And recognizing department heads, what I do is I just recognize those groups that are going just above and beyond, sometimes in a little way and sometimes in a really big way. And it's important for Dayton to know that. It's important for the residents to know that you have a great group of people here and that we're all working to push the town forward. And the good news about that is I have a 3-way tie for June. So that's a great problem to have.
Do they each get a third of the big cheese?
No, the Big Cheese stays Big Cheese. I have a surprise, but that's for the department head meeting. We can't unveil that.
Like a magician.
It's equally as corny though, and I just think that's charming. I assisted in hiring the ZBA office manager in the second round of interviews. That was fun. I really got to know Mr. Pacheco at that time and also Mr. Tom Pyre, so it was nice to interact with them. The planning board office manager, planning board was kind enough to ask me to sit in hiring Ms. Carrie Easterday, who I think is a great, both actually are great members of the community who step up and they.
We recycle everything in Dayton.
Yeah.
Especially amazing employees if you're watching Mrs. Easterday.
So they're doing great, and it was just nice to work with, have some interdepartmental work. The big ones, let's see, we got some grants. We submitted and received a grant for the IT, which is VADAR, we heard about today. We submitted and received a grant through DLTA, through SERPID for the open space and the housing plan, so those are in the works. Thank you, SERPID, can't do it without you. We submitted a grant application. I worked with Tom Ferry, thank you for all the support on that. The DER culvert replacement grant, which hopefully we'll be hearing from soon. That's a big one that I'm really hoping that we get. That was a Hail Mary for sure, so fingers crossed. I've worked on contract negotiations with the police chief, the clerical union, police union. The clerical union is almost all buttoned up. Police union's taking some time, but we're working through that. And the police chief is almost all set as well, just waiting on town meeting. I've coordinated the Board of Selectmen's role for the FY19 budget, which was not without its hiccups and wrinkles, but I'm confident that we can iron all of those out.
It's a new system.
Right, and we're already planning a September meeting between myself, the town accountant, and the finance committee chairman, just to make sure everything can go a little bit more smoothly. I've been a huge public library supporter. I don't think I've stopped talking about it, but we are now exploring various sources of funding and have solicited the help of Representative Haddad, and I'm optimistic that we can get something out of the state budget just to help the residents fund, hopefully, in my opinion, a new library, which would better serve the community.
Before you move on,
Yes.
because I feel like you undersell what you've done, I just wanted to remind everybody watching that things like you coming to Dayton on a Friday to meet with Representative Haddad, with the librarian director, Jocelyn Tavares, this is a prime example of above and beyond. No one required, I didn't even know you were going until that morning when you told me so. Things like that, thank you so much.
Of course, I'm happy to do it. I've also propped up the town for adequate representation for our cable license renewal process. That's a very lengthy process that I myself am not an expert in, and we're working with an attorney outside of town council to get us a better deal, and I'm confident we can double the payment that we've been receiving. I've put into motion, again with Mr. Ferry's help, traffic hazards at Tremont and Old Somerset Ave. I know that not everyone's thrilled with that, but it's actually making a difference, and I think people are better able to see that stop sign. Also a shout out to the neighbor that trimmed his hedges, because thank you very much, you helped out the town. Network of security is a big thing here that I really want to look at, and we've coordinated an assessment, and kudos over here to Karen, who's really just kept on top of that. But we're researching ways to improve our network and exploring hiring a network administrator or administration company that will be hopefully coming after town meeting approves funding for that. As far as procurement goes, we've joined Sursage. We've been part of 2 bids already, paper and DPW supplies that we've taken care of right now.
With savings.
Tonight with savings. We've already received savings with, Tom signed up hoisting class, he got half off for the...
Good work, Tom.
Well, it was for the whole department, so not even just his half off, it was everybody. I got half off of a contract administration class, and we were able to receive purchase catch basins at a discounted rate. W.B. Mason also extended their sourcage pricing early for us too, so we received savings there, and more to come on that. I've drafted scope of services for 4 items, well maybe 7 if you count this. 3 complete streets projects for surveying work, the cleaning custodial contract for the town municipal buildings, cemetery commission's lawn care maintenance, that was a very fun one, thanks again, two of you, and roof repair for Old Town Hall. I completed, as you all know, the MCPPO course number 1, the contract administration course. I've worked with the Economic Development Commission to survey townspeople, get them their input on what businesses they want in town. I met with Peter Merrigan for the mill. I did a tour with Vicky Piazza, and Tom was my ride on that one. And we went through to try to see what we could put there. That's always at the back of my mind. We've been working with a medical marijuana facility to come into town, and you'll be hearing about the host community agreement with that next week. The TIF research, we have 2 prospective businesses, so we've established a TIF review board just to try to help spur a little bit of economic development. I've really tried to engage with the residents. I think my most engaging event's coming up, the Cow Chip Festival. I'm a judge, so we'll see you all there.
Oh, does that, yeah.
We need to
okay.
announce that, so that's my little
Alright.
shameless plug. I do a monthly newsletter. I send it out to the residents, just letting them know what exactly a town administrator does, and I give them a little bit of just an update on the month. I also notify who the big cheese is. It's very important. I do have that open door policy. A lot of residents have taken me up on that, which I really love. I think Dayton's a very charming community. I'm happy to be a part of it in some way, so please come by. I don't take visitors on Monday just to handle the workload, but any other day, I'm around. I also created a town meeting webpage that is brand new just to help give folks information that they might need to know in town meeting. It's a big deal. It's kind of like our big Academy Awards night with no award. And then, and I do post the flag notifications. When the flag's coming down, I do post that on Facebook so everyone's aware. When I first got here, it was very clear that people have very strong feelings about the flag and when it goes down. So I wanted to make sure I told everybody who it was going down for. And I did just post something, a little fun fact. Marine's remains from 1942 were found, and they'll be laid to rest, I think, on Friday. So the town will be, the flag will be down for that, in case you didn't know. And I'm on the Cannabis Task Force as a clerk and the Emergency Preparedness Committee. We do good work. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time in Dayton. I'm thrilled to be part of the team. I have a lot of energy, I have a lot of plans, and I just thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. I just wanted to, I would be remiss if I didn't just make a remark on the bringing business into town. Again, certainly not something that your job description dictates you do. Why it's been so invaluable, I'm sure you get, random messages, random emails, Selectman Goulart, I do too. When, at least in 2 instances regarding the brewery, they messaged me, and it was very comforting and encouraging that you kind of spearheaded getting in touch with the owner to make everything happen, and then also coordinating the TIF review board as well, based on their requests. And it's really refreshing. I know me personally, I know you're busy too. I don't have a lot of spare time. I doubt you do either, Selectman Goulart, you're busy too. So to have you be that point person on an important issue like bringing business into town, and also coordinating with the assessor's office and Development and Industrial Commission, thank you. It's really, it's just nice to have someone be that focal point of information. So I appreciate it very much. All right. Correspondence. We finally have some. And it's an email from a resident regarding speeding. Selectman Goulart, did you want to read that?
Okay. This is from, I wasn't going to say the name. A resident of Cedar Estates, which is located in the area of Billy's Lane and Tommy's Way. Is that our Tommy?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Actually, where is it?
Yeah, I don't.
Across the street from Lynn's Propane.
Ah,
Oh, off of
okay.
Cedar Street, okay. Well, that's why it's Cedar Estates.
Exactly.
Good afternoon. We are residents of Cedar Estates, Billy's Lane and Tommy's Way in Dayton, Mass. And we are writing to ask for help in addressing an issue in our neighborhood. We are continuing to have a problem with vehicles, cars, construction trucks, speeding through our neighborhood, most notably on Tommy's Way. The posted speed limit is 20 miles per hour, which is, unfortunately, often ignored. We would greatly appreciate any help you can provide in addressing this issue. There are many young children in this neighborhood riding bikes, walking, playing. This issue seems to only be getting worse and has not improved since putting up speed limit signs. The cars we observe seem to be going much faster than 20 miles per hour down the road. We appreciate any attention you can provide to this matter. Thank you. Mr. Ferry, where would construction vehicles be going on Tommy's Way? Where does it go?
Sunny's Way. The whole development is still under development.
Oh, okay, okay. Are the streets, are those accepted streets?
Yeah. All three are not, and I'm not sure how they get speed limit signs to begin with.
We can take this under advisement, work together.
Yes, especially if we're willing to police presence there, it's going to be impossible. I'm not sure if they have any leverage at this time.
If I may make a comment, just a general comment to the public. I did have an informal conversation with Police Chief McDonald maybe a couple weeks ago, just very informal. And he remarked that it would probably be best if these concerns are shared directly with the police department. I have no issue with passing along these concerns, but again, it's taking extra time. Whereas if these concerns are being relayed directly to, on that, for example, non-emergency line, I believe it's 669-6411, it might be better just to go directly to the source regarding the speeding concerns. But that's just the message that was relayed to me. Oh, I know. But I'm saying, instead of them coming directly to the Board of Selectmen, I know I'm not going out there to enforce, speed limits and things like that, and not qualified to do that, not my job. But if maybe it went directly to the police department, and again, this is just a general concern for the public, that you might see maybe a little bit more action quicker. Just my 2 cents.
The person who wrote this, again, it starts out, "We are residents," so evidently she was the spokesperson for some other people. So I have a question for Mr. Ferry. In a development where, and maybe Mr. Pacheco might have something to say on this, in a development where the streets haven't been accepted by the town, no one has an authority to erect road signs?
Most of the signs are through the planning board and ZBA with the in-house engineer.
Okay.
Speed signs is a different animal. I believe that's still regulated by the state and has to be surveyed. I'm not sure how it would end up in a new development.
And these aren't public ways, these are approved roads
Yeah.
in the town, so it's like stop signs in a mall. It's really not enforceable. I'm glad people stop, but you can't get a ticket for it. Thank you.
I think when we all took driver's ed, you had to learn certain rules, and in unmarked areas where there were no speed signs, speed limit signs, the distance between houses, thickly settled districts, does anybody remember that? And it was like 20 miles per hour?
I'm impressed you learned that in driver's ed, though. I didn't learn that in driver's ed.
I did.
I was going to say it was 35, and maybe I was breaking the speed limit.
No, it wasn't 30. I know it wasn't that high.
It needs to be
25, I know, past
Are those rules still in effect?
Yes.
I mean, if, for example, if there were a cruiser in one of these areas, and they caught somebody on the radar doing, I don't know, 35, can they do anything other than warn them? Does anybody know?
It depends on the circumstances. I'm sure they can get them for a driver to engage her.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not a police officer. I'm sure this board needs to respond somehow. I would recommend they take it under advisement. I believe that whole development is planning board. We need to know what's going on from them and the police chief, his opinion. I don't know about calling into this meeting, but I would say you need some type of response from them.
Rutland should have say in this. I'm saying this with the trucks that are going in and out, because he still has to maintain those roads and stuff, so he should be able to tell these different companies that they have to have a certain speed going through that area.
Absolutely.
They have some responsibility.
Construction. These are her construction trucks.
The company trying to finish Sunny's Way is very conscious about the community. So if someone has communicated with them that we are considering a problem there, he will take it under advisement and act respectfully, actually immediately. And then you guys can catch up to him because he'll deal with it that day that you talk with him.
So, don't say it live, but you know who the contact is that we should,
Yes,
person we should contact?
yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we take this communication under advisement, that we contact the planning board and the planning board, chief of police, and the developer about this notification, and ask them to take appropriate action.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Again, thank you very much, Superintendent Ferry. Next on the agenda, we have announcements. I'll just breeze through these. The Board of Health has scheduled bulky item pickups, which are scheduled for the week of June 11th through June 15th. Tags are available for purchase at the Selectmen's office, and the rate sheet is available on the Board of Health webpage. There will be a second Green Communities information session regarding the proposed stretch energy code bylaw next Wednesday, May 30th, at 6 p.m. at Town Hall, and there may be a very brief, short presentation at the Board of Selectmen's meeting if schedule permits. The Friends of the Dayton Public Library will be holding a Meet the Candidates Night on June 11th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the Dayton Middle School. A special town meeting will be held on Monday, June 4th, 2018 at 6 p.m. at Dayton Middle School and will be immediately followed by the annual town meeting at 7 p.m. There's been a lot of chatter on social media about why we're holding the meeting at Dayton Middle School, and for those who didn't watch that meeting, because it was a long meeting, and I apologize for that, the reason is because June 4th, the high school auditorium was already booked. So that is why we're at the middle school. We are anticipating a higher than normal turnout. We understand, we are a perceptive bunch on this board. However, sometimes you don't always get what you want. I will mention, however, that my understanding is that the DR auditorium has been booked for several rain dates in case the turnout is higher than what can be allowed in that particular auditorium at the middle school. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And last, Rehoboth Congregational Church will be hosting a community blood drive on Monday, June 4th, 2018, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at 139 Bay State Road, Rehoboth, Massachusetts. Do you have any announcements, Selectman Goulart?
If we have to go to the regional high school because of exceeding capacity at the middle, are we all posted for that, or do we have to do anything special?
I spoke with the moderator, and we will make that decision at the time, and then we will pick the day, whatever the day. We picked 4 days. We were scheduled in for 4 days. So we'll pick the day, and then we'll just make that announcement. But he has the power to continue that hearing. He's allowed to.
So we don't have to go through any kind of posting again? Oh, that's good. That's good, because that would delay things.
He has the
Good question.
ability to do that.
Thank you for having that conversation. Selectmen's
Yeah, I got a couple.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a reminder, Cow Chip Festival is June 1 to 3. Let me back up a minute. Thursday, May 31st, the Aggie School is attempting to hold its first outdoor graduation, weather permitting, so that's why I'm saying attempting. Everything is in place for an outdoor graduation for the Aggie School. It will be the first outdoor graduations since the school opened in 1912, because they've obviously always been in the gymnasium. So then we have, May 31st, we have Aggie graduation. Cow Chip Festival, June 1 to 3. The powwow is returning to Dayton, June 16, 17. All of these are held on the field behind Town Hall. I believe the Aggie School graduation, you have to have an invitation or I know they issue tickets at the Connection to Graduates. Obviously, the others are open public events. Memorial Day, this coming Monday. Parade will start at 10:30. People who are going to march should be at Giorgio's by 10 o'clock. It's the joint parade with Rehoboth. And we'll march from Giorgio's up here to our Memorial Park next door. Assuming we don't have a monsoon. 2 years ago, when it was our turn, we crowded into the pavilion because it was a monsoon. Along the same lines, I've attended this, and I've mentioned that on the Sunday before Memorial Day, the Veterans Train will again go from Boston to Hyannis. If you are a veteran or the guest of a veteran, the closest station for that train would be Middleborough Lakeville, right off of 105. And they have cars specially reserved. It's a lot of fun. They serve refreshments, like coffee and muffins and things going down. And they feed you while you're there. They have programs and events. They shuttle you from the Hyannis train station over to the big parking lot across from the Cape Cod Mall. And the year that we went, 2 years ago, they had special recognition for Vietnam veterans. We didn't make it last year because my husband's health issues. But anyhow, again, it's the Sunday before Memorial Day. You should plan to be at the Middleborough Lakeville station. I would say get there by 7:30. There is no charge to park. There is no charge for you to take the train round trip. It's just an event that has been put together and has actually gone on for a number of years to recognize veterans and their service. This also is the first train from Boston to Hyannis. If you would like to take the train ride, yes, you will buy a ticket if you're not a veteran. But that will run Fridays, down on Friday, let me think, Friday through Monday, Friday through Sunday unless there's a Monday holiday, and it ends, I believe, Labor Day. But if you're interested on just going to take the train to the Cape, go to the MBTA website and look up commuter rail, a Hyannis schedule, so you'll find that there. The other thing I would like to mention is that the town has received the initial management letter from the audit company. So we have an initial report from the audit company on the audit of fiscal 2017. Management letter looks very good. I did read it, I did mark it up, give some comments to the town accountant. Excuse me, there were no findings. But in all honesty, if you don't have findings as an auditor, you must write recommendations and make suggestions, because you just can't say everything looked good and you didn't find anything. That's the truth. So there were some suggestions in there. There are some comments they made that are positive comments, some suggestions and things. And so a response has to be written to that. Have you ever written a management letter response?
A response.
No? I don't think you've done it. Okay. I gave a copy to the town accountant, all marked up, and I said to her, I will speak to the board and Mallory, and I said, I'm willing to draft a management letter response, so that's something we have to get done, okay?
Thank you.
But it's a good report. Have either of you had a chance to see it?
I read about one page and then I got interrupted, but it's on my list.
I'll give you the copy of the one that's marked up, so you just see ahead of time.
What you
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nothing major. Let me think, was there another event I wanted to bring up? Does anyone know the night of the DR graduation?
I don't know.
It's Friday night.
Is it
Is
Friday?
it June 7th? Why do I don't know.
1st of June 7th.
June 8th is the Friday of that week. The
Okay.
6th is a
It's
Wednesday.
not the 8th, it's sooner than that. It must be the
Maybe
week
it's June
before.
1st.
I think it's June
They'd
1st.
have it Memorial Day week?
It'd have to be June 1st if it's not June 8th. So, oh, we have Aggie and then the next night. Yeah, I think it is June 1st, actually.
Did I graduate on Sunday anymore?
Oh, no.
Oh, it's Friday night.
And they stopped doing,
I wish, Mr. Ryan.
they do nights now, Friday nights.
Hey, maybe we'll get a chair this time.
I'll bring our own.
Yeah, that's probably gonna be our best bet.
We were told to move last.
Yeah. To the back row.
Okay, so I think that's everything that I had.
I have a very brief report, and it's regarding the Right to Farm information session that we had last Wednesday. I am a little shocked, but very happy to report that for a public hearing / information session, there were more than 20 people present, more than 20 residents, a lot of positive comments, tough questions about things like spraying. So I think it is important to note for folks who may not be familiar with the legalese of the bylaw, of the Right to Farm bylaw, that this board has been, along with Highway Superintendent Ferry, the Conservation Commission had input, as well as Animal Control Officer Stacy Ferry and the Building Commissioner. We were very conscientious to make it clear by referencing various different laws, like the Watershed Protection Act, et cetera, that nothing in that Right to Farm bylaw supersedes things like state law, regulations by the Board of Health, local bylaws, zoning bylaws. So I just wanted to make that known publicly. But it was very well attended. It seems like the people there were very supportive of it. Again, some tough questions because not everyone is born with an innate knowledge of the Right to Farm bylaw, of course. But it was a positive experience. Serpid's Bill Napolitano was present to help answer questions, as was Animal Control Officer Stacy Ferry. And it seems like we may become a Right to Farm community. I'm hoping. But thank you to everyone who came out, including Stacy and Bill, and as well as the residents who came out to show their support and or ask their difficult questions. I came away feeling very good. I know you were there, Mr. Pacheco, and you had some good questions. We'll get you on that rooster, by the way.
And I still have that rooster, everybody wants that rooster.
There have been no
Do you own
takers.
it? Do you own it, or is it someone bothering
I
you?
own a rooster.
Oh.
I bought 6 pullets, and one of them ended up being a rooster.
No takers?
Not so far. And it's not, I don't know the details, but it's not a meat bird, so it's not
Oh,
going to be converted to Sioux, so.
so it's a pet. Somebody needs a pet.
You may just have to drop it off in someone's yard and leave quietly in the middle of the night.
I don't know what happened to the one, I haven't heard the one in our neighborhood
I haven't
crowing.
either. I haven't either.
We had
I'm
one
not
in our
asking too many
neighborhood.
questions, though. Sleep through the
I
night.
have one on my street.
It actually doesn't bother me, I have a rooster, but I'm concerned about my neighbors, they haven't complained or anything. I grew up with chickens when I was a kid, my father had chickens. And we would name them, and then he would go over and the neck. After we named it, it happened for supper.
Oh, God.
After you named it.
Terrible.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
I do have one more report.
Sure.
I think most people have heard, if you didn't read the Gazette today, the fire chief, the police chief, Mr. McDonald, was fined $7,000 for 2 ethics violations. Since I'm the only selectman that was on the board that's still here at the time that the incident took place in September of 2015, I called Attorney Gay this morning, and Attorney Gay was involved and was obviously assisting the Board of Selectmen in dealing with the situation. And I also had a message left from a reporter who I think was looking for a scoop. And I didn't return the call, quite frankly, because I didn't know what was going to be in the paper. So I will say this. In speaking with Attorney Gay this morning, we discussed the action that the board took. One of the questions, the 2 questions that were left on my answering machine by the reporter were, something to the effect about the board's confidence in the chief's ability going forward. And the second one dealt with what kind of action the board was going to take. I can tell you both of those questions were addressed in 2015, and the situation that arose was thoroughly discussed by the board with council. A thorough investigation was done, and the two officers involved were given the opportunity to resign or be terminated. And they made their choice on the options. After we discussed everything thoroughly, again, this was not a rush job, this was not something that was being kept away from the public. The meeting was broadcast live. But I can also tell you that because of the nature of the situation, the potential for an ethics violation case was there. So what this board did was, after the investigation was completed, after the situation was discussed thoroughly with the chief, town council, the officers made decisions relating to themselves. It was voted unanimously by the Board of Selectmen to issue a letter of reprimand to the chief, which I will just say which basically was for unacceptable judgment and conduct. And I personally met with the chief right after the New Year's holiday and presented him with the letter, 2 copies, which he signed, which one was given to him. And as far as confidence in the chief, that letter settled everything. It was, as I said, the whole circumstance was thoroughly discussed. That was 2015. The letter was delivered in early 2016, and as you know, the chief is with us. So I think that answers the question about confidence going forward. And as far as action to be taken, there is no plan to take further action at this time. Again, I discussed this with Attorney Gay, and he said the board took action appropriately and timely after a thorough investigation. So at this point, as far as anything going forward, again, being the only person here that was on that board, and it was my first night, quite frankly, as a selectman when the incident occurred. I was elected on a Saturday. It was the following Wednesday. I agree with Attorney Gay. I see no reason to go any further. What has occurred has occurred. The board acted timely, it acted professionally, it acted in the best interest of the town, and I am personally satisfied that we handled it properly. So I don't intend to give interviews. I don't intend to go any further than what I've already said publicly. This is what Attorney Gay and I discussed. I did send emails to my colleagues just so they knew that I had made the call and what the recommendation was. So I will just leave it at that.
All right. And I will tell the public exactly what I told the chief. Again, was not there, not making an opinion on it. But I'm proud that you're our chief, and I support you, Chief McDonald, if you're watching. Next on the agenda, acknowledgements. Okay. I did just want to thank Mrs. Brady for her hard work. As always, on the town meeting warrants, she was working up until the day, you know, they have to go to the printer, and we really thank you. I know it's stressful, but you do it with a smile, and you do it with grace, and we really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay? We have a silent round of applause. All right. Approval of the minutes.
Just before we don't have minutes, do we?
I don't
Okay.
believe so.
Before we do the warrants, I just want to mention, along the same lines, you mentioned Mrs. Brady, the good news After a very tough week, last week, today, the warrant went to the printer, and so did the town report. So folks, that warrant is going to be mailed out as we've done in the past. That seemed to work very well, and people liked it. Even if they didn't come to town meeting, they can't say they weren't notified. That's in the works, and again, kudos to Mrs. Brady. And she
boss.
smiled through the whole thing.
Always.
So,
Always.
thank you very much. Warrants. Mr. Chairman, I move that the following warrants be approved. 47A-18 in the amount of $91,997.20 payroll. Warrant 47B-18 in the amount of $156,663.35, and that's accounts payable. Warrant 47C-18 in the amount of $18,550, which is the month-end payroll, be approved.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes. This is our speak now or hold your peace until next week portion of public input. Mr. Rhines, Mr. Pacheco. So at this moment, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will step down and second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Cable, I don't know what you're going to do with your extra time tonight, but I hope you make the most of it. Have a good night, and thank you.